Greeting Commanders! Today we will go through the details of the upcoming French cycle. Also, we will share the clan statistic and describe a new map. French destroyers are coming to early access. How do we choose ships for branch? Kirill Kustov knows the answers.
French destroyers. What are they like? What's the overall branch like? And how should you select 8 ships from the wide variety available?
My job is to assign game parameters, i.e. when a ship first enters the game, it comes through me. I think about 95% of the ships we produce pass through me during the first stage of their existence. We take historical parameters such as displacement, dimensions, and armament and convert these into game parameters. The simplest is combat capability, HP. The greater a ship's displacement, the more HP it has, but there are some conditions. Different modifiers are applied to different ship types, and it quite often happens that a very large displacement results in an overpowered ship entering the game. Then we make changes. But that's the job of balance department. I release it as it is with the large HP pool. Remember players, it's not my fault. Accordingly, the balancing team can reduce or add HP depending on whether a ship has too much or too little of it.
Does some kind of conversion formula exist?
Yes, we have a formula. It's quite simple, but I can't share it, obviously.
Alright, let's talk facts about the French. Which is the coolest ship in your opinion? It's surely the Tier 10 destroyer.
I agree, yes. She has excellent artillery and great ballistics, so she's really good.
How do they differ from the destroyers that we already have in the game?
We decided to make a heavy branch, so to speak. The branch starts with typical destroyers, but from Tier 4 or 5 upwards you will start to see destroyer leaders. These are large sea-going ships with good artillery and torpedo armament. Their dimensions are both their strength and weakness. The strengths lie in their combat capabilities because, put simply, the bigger the platform for guns, the more of them you can place there. I mean, the guns. But being large is also a weakness. Among other things, their visibility suffers. The larger the target, the easier it is to hit.
So, there were no difficulties with Tier 10. The results are cool. Were any tiers hard to balance?
We had some problems with Tiers 5 and 6 because of their artillery. Their shells were weak, and they also had poor ballistics and velocity, so we've upgraded them somewhat.
At what stage do problems usually become apparent?
Usually after the first tests, when the feedback from players starts coming in. Everything becomes clear then. We receive statistical data and, most importantly, the live response from players, for which we are very grateful. Then we know what needs to be fine-tuned.
That's the time for game balancing.
Yes, they come and say, well guys, you need to add a little power here, a little speed there, etc. They ask, and we do it.
French destroyers' seakeeping ability is well known. How was it represented in the game? Let's ask Igor Lazarev.
So, the branch of French destroyers. How did you set it up? What are its interesting features?
Let's start with branches in general. How are they made? We have one vision for Tier 10, and we have another for Tier 8 and below. We need to plan in such a way that a player who researches the entire branch is trained and ready to play at Tier 10 when they reach it. They need to learn all the gameplay elements of the branch. That's why you need to present these gradually and gently. Let's take, for example, engine boost. Starting from Tier 2, all destroyers in the branch have the French version of engine boost. Then, we gradually introduce the main battery reload booster, and a bit later, very cool AP shells. But when we build a progression arc like this, the historical specifications of some ships don't fit into it very well. So we sometimes need,
For the sake of balance.
for the sake of balance and gameplay, to fine-tune something.
As I understand it, you're creating some kind of learning curve, right? At every stage, you receive some new element that you need to master in order to be successful later at Tier 10. French destroyers are without smokes. They are very long, fast, and have the French autoloader. Why did you decide to make them like this, without smokes?
When we worked on Les Terribles, she turned out to be very quick, and we had the idea to play with the concept of a branch of high-speed destroyers without smoke generators.
From a gameplay point of view, I have a fast destroyer, but it doesn't have smokes. What should I do? How should I use her?
First of all, speed is your main trump. You need to maintain an erratic rhythm of movement. In general, French destroyers are all about that choppy rhythm. They have an auto-loader that increases their firing rate for a short period of time, i.e. higher DPM. In the end, it all started to work when we did two things. We combined speed and good penetration for their armor-piercing shells, and tinkered with the distribution of HP throughout the hull.
No, we need details. What do you mean by distribution of HP throughout the hull?
Well, put simply, it means that they receive considerably less damage when hit in their middle. This area has a finite amount of HP, and after a certain point they begin to take much less damage there. As we know from the game's mechanics, if a compartment still has HP and a shell passes through it, only 1/3 of its damage is inflicted. The French, however, start to receive only 1/6 of damage quite quickly, so they enjoy greater survivability under fire.
To put it bluntly, it's like a destroyed bow that you can expose to damage without being afraid.
Exactly. Their centre is just like that. This feature, combined with the ship's high speeds, allows them to evade enemy fire without smokes and impose their battle rhythm upon their opponents.
What should a French destroyer do when battle starts?
Some are more tuned to fight for key areas, some less so. At the beginning of battle, the French will be less suited to that because they'll be at the centre of everyone's attention. They'll excel at a distance.
So they are good support destroyers that can turn up exactly when needed.
Mostly in the middle of a battle, when they attract less attention. They need to take advantage of their speed and manoeuvrability to surprise cruisers with exposed broadsides to show their full potential.
What about their speed? What's so special about the French engine boost? You activate it and just teleport to another edge of the map.
Figuratively speaking, yes. The thing is that the French engine boost provides a considerably higher increase in speed than that of other nations, about 20% more.
Should you install the upgrade for acceleration and deceleration?
In fact, I'd recommend it for most destroyers instead of the rudder shift time upgrade. For some ships, especially Soviet destroyers, it can play a significant role.
Ksenia Karpushina will tell you about the creation of a new map.
How do you come up with maps?
Well, in general, when we start creating a map, first we need to understand which tier it's intended for and which game modes we want to use with it. We also try to predict how many players will play on it. Usually that doesn't work out though, because we can surmise all we want, but players will always go their own way.
What's the preliminary name of this map?
This map is called Crash Site Alpha.
How did you come up with the idea for this map? And how did those same players who do everything in their own way help you?
First of all, we create a rough version and send it for testing. We take islands from existing maps, arrange them, and change their heights and layout. We then send this version without any beautiful sky, trees, cities, or other miscellaneous objects.
Pure gameplay.
Yes, pure gameplay. We send it for testing and users play all the selected modes on this map. It's great if all our modes can be played on the same map, because usually players are asked to play 5 random battles, 12 versus 12, and pay a little more attention to clan battles, because positions that provide an unfair advantage to one team are more noticeable in competitive modes. After testing, we analyse the feedback and rearrange things if necessary. We change the map according to the feedback and send it for another round of testing to see if it's any better or worse. Initially, we start from the standard random battles. So it's domination with 3 key areas that I arrange on the map. Then I start thinking about how to encourage players to capture these areas. So I use islands to kind of pave the way for them.
You're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs along which players can feel safe enough to move forward, am I right?
Exactly. At the beginning of a battle, you can basically hide behind islands and advance gradually to capture an area.
What about gameplay by classes, for example? Does it work for all of them? I mean, can you rush a key area with a battleship, for instance, without being afraid?
Well, I do rush.
Yes, you do. I've seen you score 200,000 on Zao. Will a new style of gameplay emerge thanks to this arrangement of the key areas?
It's not a new style of gameplay. This solution simply changes the perception of a standard clan map. The usual arrangements of key areas for clans is a triangle with 2 home areas and 1 contested area. The home areas are considered to be the safest because they're located...
Get up and go rushing.
Yes, they're far away. You can simply capture it at the beginning of a battle and then go with your entire team to fight for a contested area. In fact, with this map, we have a different story because the home key areas are located very close to one another. So while you're capturing a home area, you're also getting spotted and need to either have support from your team or seek cover behind islands. The feeling is a little different. You're no longer safe in a home key area. At the same time, the contested area, which is pretty far from those home areas, is perceived as a much safer spot. This creates quite an interesting result that we've seen during tests. Now, you can avoid wasting too much time, as is the case on existing maps, and try to push forward from your home key area into the enemy's home key area.
Thus immediately gaining the advantage.
Yes, you'll have the advantage of 2 key areas. This is much more profitable than assaulting the contested one.
Why Crash Site Alpha?
Crash Site Alpha was one of the names suggested by our players.
Does the map correspond to its name somehow?
Yes, it does. Actually, it was just a name at first, a separate name and a separate aesthetic for the map. We had several names and several variants of the map's appearance and layout, but how to combine them? We thought it through and created a location with the White Cliffs of Dover, calling it Crash Site Alpha. Then we decided to go even further and spread shipwreckage all over the map. It will have a very beautiful login screen displaying a wrecked ship. In future, we might add something to this map that will only emphasize its...
You told me about an Easter egg.
Yes, it's...
Okay, we'll be waiting.
We wanna share some clan battle statistics with you. Lots of numbers coming from Alexander Lapitsky.
There have been 5 seasons already. What can you say about clan battles and clans in general?
Well, a lot of work has been done in this area. First of all, we fixed the rating, which is now in its final state. Many fixes were also made to the matchmaker and the way that teams are assembled. In the latest 5th season, the matchmaker was sped up quite significantly, and perhaps its quality suffered as a result. But we're trying to fix this in the 6th season. Also, the matchmaker finally became cross-realm in the 5th season. This means that players can now choose their prime time and fight against clans from other regions at a time that's convenient for them.
When we initially discussed it, you said the meta in the APAC region had changed significantly due to an influx of players from the Russian Far East.
Well, not that many players, but about 15 to 20% clans in the APAC regions are CIS players.
And what ships are players choosing?
Among battleships, the most popular is Yamato, and second place is shared between Montana and Republique. That's battleships. The most popular cruiser is Henri IV. Many players use Henri indeed. And the next most popular ones are Des Moines and Stalingrad.
What do you think? Will the French ships perform well in clan battles? Destroyers, for example?
The French destroyers? Well, yes. I think a Tier 10 French destroyer could literally capture an area right away.
Let's return to the numbers. You told us about some advantages. Now let's talk drawbacks. Drawbacks.
First of all, we are continuing to improve matchmaking. It's great that it works quickly now, but we need to improve the quality.
What does quality mean in terms of the matchmaker?
Matching your clan with a clan that's similar in strength. If you have a high dispersion, I mean, if your clan is weak and you're facing a very strong clan, you still have a chance to win. No, it's not as small as you think. I looked at the top 100 worst case scenarios with the highest rating dispersion, 100 battles with the highest delta. The strongest clan have a 90% win rate, but not 100%. It means that they lose 1 battle out of 10 to a team that's much weaker. So that's not a rule. By the way, I played an interesting battle myself. We fought against a very tough clan, but our battleship player just one-shotted 2 enemy ships right at the start of the battle. And that was that. It was over.
How it works, Armada, Naval Legends. Valera Tsigankova will uncover the secrets of our YouTube channel.
Hi Igor.
Hi Valera.
How was your day?
Fine, we were shooting for the entire day. Well, you know yourself what it's like.
How do you like being on camera in general?
I'm getting more and more used to it. I fear it can hook me on, you know, the fame, the money.
It really sucks you in, right?
Subscribers, what can you tell us about subscribers?
You know what? We have 15,000 new subscribers on our channels. 15,000! It's really a lot for us.
That's a good trend, right?
Yes, and that's why I want to say thank you.
We have 2 channels. This one is global and the other is for the CIS.
Russian speaking.
Right, and what's going on with our global channel?
Our global channel is flourishing. Just recently, we reached 100 million views there. 100 million views! That's thanks to our flagship show, Naval Legends. This is our main driver.
Let's talk about that. How will the show develop? Why is it released the way it is now?
First of all, for those who watch Diaries, a new episode of Naval Legends will be out tomorrow. This show's episodes are released once every 1.5 months, so why not more frequently? Why not every week? Well, because to film an episode of Naval Legends, we need to physically travel to a ship that could be as far as the USA or somewhere in Europe or Australia. It's not possible to just go there and say, we're going to shoot here, 5 tickets please. No, you need to have preliminary agreements in place. Sometimes you need to negotiate not only with the museum, but also with the military organization it's connected to. We must show them what we want to shoot and get approval. This means a lengthy correspondence process. We prepare a script and edit an episode using the shot materials. Then we add all sorts of infographics and CG effects. This takes time. We also pick the background music, do voiceovers, translations, and only then is the video ready to be released on the channel. This is a lengthy process, so we just can't do it more frequently.
Do I understand correctly that we pretty much release a small documentary video once every 1.5 months?
Yeah, right. Let me brag about that a little. They are unique videos. You can't find anything like them on YouTube, and we're very proud of that. We'll keep at it. Our schedule is set until the end of 2020, so there are plenty of videos to come. And you should subscribe. Low pressure advertising. Everyone subscribe.
And click that bell.
Yeah, click the bell.
Okay, we've discussed historical videos. Now let's talk about the game. What do we have about the game?
The WoWs show.
The WoW show and how it works.
Yes, these are completely different series. WoW's show is simply fun, and how it works is my favourite series. I think it's really useful. We need to provide as much information as possible to players about how to perform best in the game, play correctly, and use all the tricks and traps we've added to it to their advantage. I think we need to ask our players something. We already have the show scheduled for the next episodes, but perhaps you have some pressing matters that you want us to discuss as soon as possible. Leave your comments, and we might well adjust our plans to focus on the issues you're concerned about.
We've talked about history and about the game. Now let's talk about entertaining our players and communicating with them.
Well, this is the most important thing for our channel. First of all, I hope everyone noticed the community feed, the feed for our subscribers. We post jokes and various secret images there. You can head there while visiting the channel and leave your comments. You can also win prizes. Secondly, we have streams. We've built and arranged a beautiful streaming studio in our main office, and there are regular streams on our Russian channel every Friday. Now, we really want to make some spectacular shows for the global channel. Currently, the guys from the regional offices stream there, but we're envious because they're reaching the global audience, and we're just sitting here in the northern capital, and that's it. It's probably going to be a bit less often than weekly, maybe once a month, but it will be cool if we can stream together with developers, comment on updates, and play with the global player audience. Are you ready for that?
Always ready.
Excellent. I have 2 tasks for you. Let's hit the like button under this video for Igor, because this guy is trying much better than me. At least he hasn't dyed his hair. Also, please leave a comment about what you'd like to see on the channel. Perhaps you have some advice about the Developer Diaries series, or perhaps you've even come up with an idea for a completely different show and you're fed up with waiting for us to meet your expectations. Share all your ideas. I will personally sit down and reply to each and every good comment with a cool idea, just so you don't feel that your questions might remain unanswered. We hear you and reply to you whenever possible.
With these very hands.
With these very hands, and using this very keyboard, just like that.
So, that's it. Like our video and subscribe to our channel.